I always thought I had the perfect marriage. Allison and I met in college. I was a determined engineering student, and she was studying business, full of ambition and dreams. We built a life together from scratch. Tiny apartment, cheap secondhand furniture, ramen dinners. But we were happy. We used to joke that we were each other's forever person. Things changed after our son Ethan was born. We still loved each other, but the easy laughter we once shared faded under the weight of sleepless nights and endless bills. Allison decided she wanted more out of life than being a mom and part-time admin. She enrolled in something called the Successful Woman course, a weekend workshop promising to unlock her potential. I was all for it at first. I wanted her to feel fulfilled. I'd watch Ethan cook dinner, pick up the pieces, so she could chase her dreams. She came back from that first session practically glowing, eyes alight like when we first fell in love. She wouldn't stop talking about it, how the course was life-changing, how the teacher, Marcus, was so insightful and inspiring. I admit, I felt a twinge of jealousy. I brushed it off. After all, Marcus was probably some older motivational speaker who knew how to talk a good game. But soon, things shifted. Allison grew distant, always texting late at night, smiling at messages she never shared with me. Our evenings together turned silent. She was always too tired or too busy to spend time with me. I convinced myself I was overthinking it, until the night I found her laptop open on the kitchen counter, an email drafted but unsent. "Marcus, I can't stop thinking about last night. The way you looked at me, the things you said. I want more." My hand shook as I read the words. My stomach felt like it had dropped straight through the floor. She walked into the kitchen as I stood there. Our eyes met. Hers widened when she realized what I was reading. "What are you doing?" she snapped, snatching the laptop from my hands. But I couldn't find my voice. I just stared at her, at the woman I thought I knew better than anyone. "Who is Marcus to you?" I finally croaked. Silence. She looked away, then back at me with tears welling in her eyes. "He's my teacher, my mentor," she said, voice shaking. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated, heart pounding. "Did you sleep with him?" She hesitated for a moment that felt like an eternity. "Yes," she whispered. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My ears rang. Every memory of us flashed in my mind. Our wedding vows, late-night talks, Ethan's first steps, all suddenly tainted. I staggered back, gripping the counter. I didn't know whether to scream or cry. "I never meant for this to happen," she pleaded. "You've been so busy, so distracted. Marcus listens to me. He makes me feel seen." I wanted to lash out, to yell, to break something, but Ethan was asleep upstairs. Our little boy. I forced myself to breathe. "How long?" I asked, my voice raw. She wiped her cheeks, eyes darting away. "A few months," she admitted. "It started during the course. He said we had a connection." I couldn't process it. Months. While I thought she was finding herself, she was finding someone else. She tried to touch my arm, but I pulled back like her hand was fire. "Don't," I said firmly, my words trembling. "You need to leave." She looked at me, stunned. "Where am I supposed to go?" "To him," I spat, surprising myself with the venom in my voice. "Go to Marcus. Clearly, he's what you want." She opened her mouth to argue, but I turned and walked away, needing space before I shattered completely. I went upstairs to check on Ethan, who was sleeping peacefully, blissfully unaware of the storm tearing his parents apart. I sat on the floor next to his bed, tears streaming down my face, trying to figure out what to do. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, heard her words. I didn't want to believe this was happening. I thought about the times I'd held her, the promises we made, the plans for our future. I wondered how I'd missed the signs, how I'd let the woman I loved slip through my fingers. A while later, I heard the front door close quietly. I went downstairs to find the living room empty, Allison's keys gone. I sat in the dark, the silence deafening. I felt hollow, lost, angry. But beneath it all, a tiny ember of resolve was starting to flicker. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing. I wouldn't let this betrayal define me. For Ethan's sake, and for mine, I needed to find a way through this. But first, I had to confront the man who'd helped destroy my marriage. Allison didn't come home that night. I stayed awake on the couch, drifting between anger and heartbreak as the minutes ticked by. When dawn broke, I called in sick to work. I couldn't face anyone, not yet. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table staring at my wedding ring, turning it over and over like it might give me answers. A little after 9, I got a text from her. "I'm staying with a friend. I'll be by later to talk." I almost threw the phone across the room. A friend? Was that her word for Marcus now? I knew I couldn't wait for her to make the next move. I needed to know what kind of man Marcus was. I needed to see him with my own eyes. I called in a favor from a buddy who worked in security. By lunch, I had an address for Marcus's office where he taught the successful woman course. When I arrived, I parked down the street and watched as women came and went from the building. It looked like a trendy co-working space, full of motivational posters and potted plants. I felt sick as I realized how many marriages were probably at risk behind those glass doors. Then I saw him. Marcus was taller than I expected, dressed in an expensive suit, hair slicked back. He looked like every stereotype of a smooth-talking charmer. As he stepped outside to greet a woman arriving for the course, he placed a hand on her lower back, leaning in just a little too close, his smile practiced and predatory. My hands clenched into fists. I wanted to confront him right there on the sidewalk, but I stopped myself. Not yet. I needed to be smart, for Ethan. Instead, I waited until evening. When I returned home, Allison was already there, sitting at the dining room table with red eyes. She'd changed into one of her old sweatshirts, and for a brief, painful moment, she looked like the woman I'd fallen in love with. "I'm sorry," she said as soon as I stepped inside. "I don't know what happened. I lost myself." I sat across from her, exhausted. "You know what happened. You wanted more, and he told you what you wanted to hear." She looked down, twisting her hands together. "He made me feel powerful, like I mattered. Was that worth destroying our family?" I asked, voice cracking. "Was he worth Ethan growing up in a broken home?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted to hurt you. Or him. But you did," I whispered. The weight of everything felt like it would crush me. She tried to reach across the table, but I pulled back. "We need space," I said. "You should stay somewhere else for now." She nodded slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Can I see Ethan?" "You can see him," I said firmly. "But not here. I don't want him confused or hurt any more than he already will be." She left quietly, the door closing behind her with a final sounding click. I sank into the chair, exhausted. The silence was deafening. Over the next few weeks, we worked out a custody schedule. She moved into a small apartment. I focused on Ethan, trying to keep his life as normal as possible. Some nights, after he fell asleep, I'd sit in the dark staring at the walls, wondering how everything fell apart so fast. Then, one Friday afternoon, I picked Ethan up from preschool and drove to the park. He ran to the swings, carefree. I watched him, my heart breaking at the thought of what he'd have to grow up understanding about his parents. I knew I couldn't change the past, but I could shape the future. The next morning, I did something I'd been dreading. I called Marcus. He answered with a smug tone, as if he knew who I was without me saying a word. Marcus speaking. This is Ryan, I said, my voice calm but ice cold. Allison's husband. He paused, then chuckled. Ah, yes. I was wondering when you'd call. You think this is funny? I snapped. You're preying on vulnerable women and destroying families. Please, he scoffed. I help women realize their true potential. It's not my fault if some men can't keep up. My anger boiled over. You didn't help anyone. You seduced my wife while pretending to be her mentor. Stay away from her. He laughed softly. Or what? Or I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of teacher you are. I've seen you with other women outside your building. I'm guessing their husbands would love to know what's going on. The silence on the other end told me I had finally struck a nerve. You don't scare me, he said, voice low now brittle. I don't need to scare you. I just need the truth to come out, I replied before hanging up. I sat back, heart pounding, realizing I had taken the first real step toward reclaiming my life. Over the following months, I rebuilt. Allison and I divorced quietly. We kept things civil for Ethan's sake, and over time, we learned how to co-parent. The pain didn't disappear overnight, but it dulled with each passing day. I took up running again, reconnected with old friends, and eventually found myself laughing without forcing it. I'd see Allison sometimes when we traded off Ethan, and though a sadness lingered between us, I knew I'd never go back. One evening, Ethan and I sat on the couch reading his favorite dinosaur book. He looked up at me and asked, Daddy, are you happy? I hugged him close, breathing in his scent. Yeah, buddy, I said softly. I am. And I promise, no matter what, I'll always be here for you. Because in the end, love isn't about grand gestures or empty promises. It's about showing up, day after day, for the ones who matter most. And that's something no affair, no betrayal, could ever take from me.